Hi, and welcome to a breakdown concerning what happened with this particular model. You have to excuse the mess, I'm in the middle of another building project, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about this model that I built from out of zone plans. It's the Chaos, it's a 1973 design, and the problems that I've had with it. Not with the plane itself and the air structure, because when it's flying, it's been an absolute dream. In fact, it's a little bit more plane than I think I can handle and do justice to at the moment. Beautiful plane, handles superbly, and it's not a surprise that it's been so popular. However, the issues revolved around this engine. It became a little bit of a dead stick wonder. The number of dead sticks I've had to execute with this plane have been too many to mention. And the culprit, obviously, there's something wrong with the setup, or there was something wrong with the setup of this engine. It's an SC61. It's about as much engine as I could cram into this. It's actually the Super Chaos. It's about as much engine as I could cram in here. It's a rear needle valve with the carburetor up front. And for a long time, I've been unable to put my finger on what's been the problem regarding the dead stick performance. So let's take a closer look. As you can see, this is something of a beast crammed into this airframe. Forward carburetor, rear needle valve was something that was totally new to me. I'd never come across it. And when I began experiencing dead sticks, At first I actually put it down to the fact that this was a brand new engine out of the box. It wasn't bought second hand. Well, actually it was new second hand, but it had never been run. And I initially put down the problems due to the fact that it needed to be run in. However, the dead sticks continued, and I've put it down to this arrangement, something I wasn't familiar with, and I began to blame this for the issues. Well, it all came to a head last week when I had two flights, both of which ended in a dead stick. And I then decided to investigate, and that's where the troubles began. So, I stripped down the engine, I took it out of the plane, and the first thing I did was I looked in the tank, and I found a piece of foam that had come from an inline filter. It was a filter that I'd purchased on the internet, and I'd assumed that it had a wire mesh inside. Just shows that you should always check. Instead, it just had some foam which had disintegrated and gone into the tank. So, first assumption was that the foam itself was blocking the feed line to the engine and causing the dead stick. Put it back into the plane, and the tank cleaned out, run it again, exact same problem. So I decided to actually have a look at the carburetor itself, and this screw here, or cover here, gives access to the lower end needle setting, which there's a screw on the other side. When I took it off, there was all kinds of gunk that had collected in here. A very fibrous sort of, looked like navel lint, to be honest with you, in here. That's the problem, I thought. Put it back together, tried again, still no luck. So I was getting exasperated by this point, took the needle apart, blew through it, wasn't sure whether I'd blown something out. I felt like I was beginning to imagine things now. And then I turned my attention to the tank. And I put it on the stand and I ran the engine, and the problem became very apparent. Well, it turns out this was the offending item. It's a Dupro tank, which was plumbed in. Obviously there's the clunk, the feed and the intake valves. And when I watched carefully the engine run in the test stand, using this tank, fortunately I took this tank out of the plane to check, I noticed that it was feeding bubbles of air into the carburetor and through the needle. And obviously an engine isn't going to perform at its best with a sporadic supply of fuel. And when I investigated, I found that it just wasn't making a proper seal in this area. The screw that goes through here just wasn't sealing the tank sufficiently. So I pulled this tank out, tried a different tank, same size, but a big beast of a tank, would give about 15 minutes engine run, plumbed it up, and this was the result.